Hey, it's Jay Foss back with another content video. Today I'm starting part 1 of 3 of hardest hitters. This one will focus on snipers, which are heroes that generally they hit one target for upfront damage. I will briefly go on my methods here on how I came up with these rankings. First of all, every hero that attacks, I divide it into single target, multi-target, or potentially hit all. So hit 1, hit 2 or 3, or hit all 5, basically. All heroes don't fit neatly into those categories, I will say. So you will see some that you may say, well, that's not a snipe, but they have to fit into one of the 3 categories. To do all this, I have every single hero on a spreadsheet I have built that does damage, and I work off the actual damage equation. I do not just multiply the attack stat by the attack percentage. I put them into the actual damage equation. There is a random variable in the damage equation. I've set it to a constant that is near the middle of the range. For calculating enemy defenses, I have set 5-star defenses to a near median value based on all the 5 stars. And these will be off the base cards. So while the ranks will largely be the same once you add troops, limit breaks, emblems, and all that, the actual damage numbers will be different. But I have to give the damage numbers as a comparison in this video, if that makes sense. So again, this is working out the base value of the card, the damage equation, setting defensive control to a near median value, changing the random variable to a constant, and we're dealing with snipers today, so let's get into it. Alrighty, getting into the ranks, I have Kagan Costume at number 10. The first set of these ranks will focus on guaranteed upfront damage, and then I'll get into some conditions and dots and stuff like that after. And like I said, or alluded to, this is a ton of data and a ton of data points and equations, so there may be a mistake. If you think there is one, just let me know in the comments and I'll double check it. But Kagan is number 10 for the method I described in the introduction. I have his base snipe at 930, so Kagan, number 10. Number 9, I have Liana with a costume bonus. That is this one in the middle. That is, you have the costume, but you're not wearing it. I have Liana costume bonus at 931. So very close, obviously, to Kagan. At the number 9 position, I have Liana costume. I'll get back to number 8, but I have Liana costume at number 7 with about 945. So Liana costume number 7. I have Thorn costume at number 8. Thorn costume is approximately 933. So a lot of these are very, very bunched together. I mean, everyone I've listed between 930 and 945. So Thorn costume, that's this one right here, at number 8. At number 6, I have Cathal. For Cathal, I have a raw value of 1,043 for Cathal at 6. So starting to move up a little bit. Cathal, number 6. For number 5, I have Winifred. Her 550% snipe comes in at number 5, equates to about 1,073 raw damage based on the aforementioned method. I get that you may or may not consider her a snipe, but if you do, she'll also make an appearance in the conditional category, counting when this other stuff comes into play if she's able to chain. So Winifred, number 5. I have the Dark Lord at number 4. The 550% only equates to about 1,092. Like Winifred, will also make an appearance in the conditional side of it if you want to factor in his dot and his conditions. But for just the 550, he comes in at number 4 at 1092. For number 3, I have Zhang Fei. Zhang Fei comes in with about 1121 for up front with that 530. He obviously has a big attack stat, which helps. So Zhang Fei with 1121, third hardest hitting for up front damage. Number 2, Galeyard from Gargoyles. Galeyard comes in at 1139, so pretty close to Zhang Fei for raw damage, and that's off the 554%. So Galeyard number 2. And number 1 for guaranteed upfront damage for snipers is Ioran Fluffy. Ioran Fluffy comes at number 1 for guaranteed upfront damage for snipers. Her 600% equates to 1197 raw damage based on the method I described. So she is number 1 currently, and this will change, I would assume, fairly soon with the release of new heroes, but currently number 1 for guaranteed upfront damage for a sniper. Now next I'll be talking about some conditional damage for snipers. Alrighty, starting out with conditional damage. So I have 12 on this list, and 2 I don't know how to calculate. So the versions of Finley would come in near the bottom of this top 10 list, so still pretty good overall conditional damage. And by conditional, I mean something else has to happen. It's not guaranteed. I'll just focus on the regular one here. I think it's something like 180, 60, 40, 20, or 170, 50, 30, 10. But I don't know for sure, and I've never seen math to prove it one way or another. But he'd probably be at the bottom of this top 10 list, so still pretty good damage for conditional damage. Mr. Pingy would probably be at the top. He'd probably be number 1 or number 2. I'd guess number 1 for conditional damage for a snipe. Obviously, we've seen the Mythic Titan videos and just the videos with 15 minions on the team and how much damage he can do, and not even counting the damage over time. Potentially, this is massive damage, and I do consider Pingy a sniper because he does direct damage to one target, and then everything else is just sort of a bonus in the right conditions. But obviously massive damage. If you are able to calculate out mathematically how all the potential 15 fish are calculated, I would like to know. I don't know how to calculate it, but just from seeing it and experiencing it, it's definitely way up there on the list. Probably number 1. So Mr. Pingy. For number 10 on conditional damage, it is Fenrir. So the condition here is 640% damage if the target has less than 50% health remaining. I've mentioned in the past why I don't like this perk, but nonetheless, that 640% on a base Fenrir card would come in at 1292 raw damage. So Fenrir gets number 10 spot for conditional snipe damage. For number 9, we have Captain Nemo. Captain Nemo's condition is if the caster has a status ailment or negative stack, then he'll activate his 600%, and he would come in at approximately 1296 raw damage, just ahead of when Fenrir's condition is met. For number 8, we had got the brand new hero of the month, Tahir. He would come in at approximately 1608 conditional damage for a sniper, and this would effectively be if all his conditions are met. So if the target has a status ailment, the snipe goes for 525, doesn't kill the target, but then still applies the bleed, and then you get all the turns of bleed. So a lot has to happen, but still theoretically high conditional damage for a sniper. And just for point of reference, Fluffy's upfront damage was about 1200. As we go through these conditions, you can sort of theorize how realistic some of these conditions are versus aren't. For number 7, it's Costume Demesha. Costume Demesha does 390% to the target. If she gets her full poison, she comes in at about 1655. So conditional snipe damage, Demesha number 7. Again, she has to get her full dot, and it's relatively slow developing. For number 6, again, you might consider this a sniper, you might consider this a hit all. If you consider this a sniper, Sir Roosley comes in at number 6, At 2109, this would be Sir Roosley if he hits all 5 targets. For number 5, we have Winifred again. This is the 550% plus 225 to all other targets. Minor damage is half the percent when you're dealing in percents. But in this case, because of how the damage equation works, just throwing this out there, that 225% damage times 2 does not equal 550%, just because it's how it's calculated. So my point is that if she hits 3, the initial snipe will still be bigger than the other 2 combined. But Winifred, if she is able to get her chain through all 5, comes in at 2357, which is 5th for conditional damage. Well, conditional, not counting Pinky, but we'll say 5th for conditional damage for snipes. Number 4, Urayus is a sniper. To get this condition, all enemies would have to own minions, and all would have to receive the full sand damage over 3 turns. If you add in the 485 snipe, this comes in at 2460. This is higher than I think people realize and can actually trigger in minion war. But yeah, Urayus comes in number 4 for conditional, i.e. not guaranteed damage from a snipe at 2460. Number 3, making a visit on this side of the tracks as well, is Dark Lord. Dark Lord was on the list for guaranteed upfront damage. If you go to the conditional damage side, he's also on the list. He comes in at 2819. This would raw damage, start 2819 raw damage. This would have to be the snipe plus the full damage over time to all possible targets. And if that happens, he comes in at number 3. For number 2, it's Rain. This one is a conditional damage that I don't have Rain, but if you have Rain, it is relatively hard to execute. You have to have the initial target not die. You have to hit the target in the middle, and then basically that target gets 4 turns and lives to the 4th turn of poison, and then the 2 next to that get 3 turns of poison, and then the ones beside that get 2 turns of poison. So perhaps the hardest condition on the snipe list to potentially make. But if you are able to get it, it comes in at a pretty big 3470 if you're able to get that. And so yeah, pretty solid if somehow you're able to pull that condition. But theoretically, it's massive damage, theoretically. Number 1, if you consider him a sniper, again, you may not, but if you do, this would be a whopping 4120 raw damage if he chains through all 5. This isn't even counting the passives or the family bonus, which can add more upfront and more damage over time. So you're not imagining it. He really is hitting you really hard. I will also note that I don't think people realize how much this buff helped him. When he went from, I think it was 350 to 450, it took him from about 2,900 damage to 4,100 total damage, just for the skill. And that's also going to affect the little passive or family bonus here, at least the first part. So yeah, he can get you really hard. I understand that you may not consider this a sniper. I mean, he's only guaranteed to hit 1. But yeah, I'll factor that in when we get to the hit alls as well. But if you consider him a sniper, he'd be number 1 for conditional damage. Again, and I want to emphasize this is a huge data set I'm working off. There may be errors. Let me know if you think there is one. The first half was guaranteed up front. The second half was conditional. I described my method in the introduction. I will also be doing this for multi-hitters and hit all heroes. So expect that in a little while. I am going on vacation starting Monday, but expect those in the near future. Thanks for watching.